State Park is so important is because it's a very unique park. It's unlike any other park, and it's one of the few places where you can actually see dinosaur footprints exactly in the place where they were made. Usually when you go into a museum, you see things that have been collected from many different places, and they're all brought to a place. But Dinosaur State Park is about the place. So it's one of the few places where you can actually see dinosaur footprints where the dinosaurs left them. So you have an opportunity to sort of, as we like to say, step back into the early Jurassic and get a sense of what the environment was like when dinosaurs actually lived here and walked around Connecticut. It's kind of a unique thing. A lot of people have a very hard time believing that the footprints are real because we're not really used to seeing things like that. In 1966, instead of having a park here, this was a construction site. And a bulldozer operator named Ed McCarthy was digging the basement for a state building. Flipped over a slab of rock and saw 6 dinosaur footprints. He wasn't quite sure what they were, but he knew it was something different, something special that he hadn't seen before. So he stopped work, he told his bosses, authorities were alerted, and they got some scientists from Yukon out here. 2 gentlemen, actually, one paleontologist, one geologist, and the scientists who came to look at the site knew right away this was something very, very special. Even though dinosaur footprints have been discovered in the Connecticut Valley since the early 1800s, they knew this was a special site. So the right people got the ear of the governor, and in less than 3 weeks after Ed McCarthy flipped over that piece of sandstone, this was declared a state park. And we've been open to the public. It took 2 years to excavate the 2,000 dinosaur footprints that are here, but we've been open to the public for the past 38 years. One thing that the designers of the park had to do was to make sure that the footprints were covered over so that the stone didn't become eroded from being subjected to the weather. So the first thing they did was a quick fix, and they put up what was called a bubble building. So it was a plastic dome. You see similar things now, although I think they're a little sturdier than our dome was, where you have soccer games. You'll see things like that on the highway today, where kids will play. And that lasted for, I guess, about 10 years. And finally, it was ripped to shreds in a terrible storm. And it was after that that they built the dome, the permanent building that you see here today. We have museum exhibits that go along with the footprints. We have some dioramas that show what life was like in the early Jurassic and the late Triassic period here in Connecticut. And in the summer and on school vacations and on the weekends, we have special programs. In the summer, every morning we have interpretive programs in our demonstration room. Every afternoon we have guided walks on our nature trails. During school vacations, we usually have special programs every day that often include crafts, live animal shows, and a host of other demonstration programs throughout the day. And then in the summer we also do some craft programs, and during the school year we usually only do guided programs by appointment with schools. Also on the weekends we have a large auditorium that seats 100, and we run dinosaur films throughout the day. And we just completed in August our own park film. It's called Step Into the Early Jurassic. We spent a couple of years developing it, and it's a 25-minute film all about the park. In addition to the museum and the activities that we have going on in here, we have 60 acres. The park sits on an area that's 60 acres large, and there are 2.5 miles of hiking trails. You don't see dinosaurs or really dinosaur footprints on the trails. They're nature trails. They go across a basalt ridge, through some lovely wooded areas. We have a 300-foot boardwalk that crosses a red maple swamp, where in the spring and summer you can see turtles and frogs and dragonflies and damselflies and snakes and all sorts of other animals. We do have a lovely picnic area that's open year-round. It's shaded but not sheltered, but we will be getting a pavilion within the next year or so. Outside we also have our very unique track casting area, and there we have 7 slabs of rock with raised footprints. Those are the negatives that were the sediments that were inside the dinosaur footprints. And we have these metal rings you put around the footprint, and then you have to bring your own materials, 10 pounds of plaster of Paris and a quarter cup of cooking oil. You mix that together in a bucket, and after oiling the track, you pour it into the ring, into the footprint mold. And after it sets for about a half an hour, the plaster hardens, and when you pop it off, you have a copy of your own dinosaur footprint, life-size, to keep forever. So I hope that people get a sense of natural history, but I hope they also get a sense of the natural history of Connecticut, that you don't have to go out west to hear about dinosaurs. We had them here, and they'll actually get a sense of what Connecticut was like 200 million years ago. It gives you a sense of time and how animals and species change over time. Dinosaur State Park is open year-round. Our trails close only 3 days of the year, so the grounds are open year-round. We close Thanksgiving, New Year's Day, and Christmas Day. Otherwise, the museum is open every Tuesday through Sunday throughout the year. The 3 days I mentioned are the only days we close, and the museum is open from 9 to 4:30. The trails and the bookshop are open from 9 to 4. For more information about the park, you can go to our friend's website, www.dinosaurstatepark.org, or you can call the park at 860-529-5816.